some time. It really started with Donald Trump's Jeffrey Epstein scandal and Republicans trying to figure out how hypocritical they could be, how shamelessly that they could lie for Donald Trump before some realized they just can't. And of course, one of those Republicans is Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has been going on an all-out offensive against Donald Trump in the recent days, as it looks like something has flipped in her brain, which I didn't really even know was there. But now Republicans are falling in line. And after a leaked call has gone public, it's only getting worse for Trump. We're going to get into it all and how it's blowing up his term. But before we do, if I could quickly ask you to leave a like on this video. And if you haven't already and you enjoy our channel, to hit that subscribe button because it goes a long way in supporting our work. Now, before we get into the MAGA civil war erupting and that leaked call that is really sparking it all, I want to start with what Jasmine Crockett had to say about Marjorie Taylor Greene because I think it's important context on the shutdown and her attack on Trump.
I just talked to one of my Republican colleagues about 30 minutes ago because I was trying to find out if we were actually going to go back into session next week as my staff is trying to plan what's going on. But I can tell you, we actually discussed that Marjorie was flipping on this because it seems like everything that is important, this child ain't read the bill and has no idea of what's going on. I don't understand why Georgia keeps sending her to D.C., but this is not the first time that she wasn't quite clear on what damage it was that her party was ushering in. But listen, I will take her seeing the light at any point in time. And so, yeah, it's sad that she can only see the light when it directly impacts her because she is elected to represent almost 1 million people. And so not listening to your constituents as they're calling and they're talking about their struggles, but then making it about your children, your adult children, because their premiums are going to go up. Listen, I'll take a yes vote or somebody coming to the table, whatever way I can get it. But I just don't believe that that's how government is supposed to work. I don't have any children. When I am governing for the people that elected me. And I don't think that I should be looking at it and thinking, well, because this personally is going to impact me, then maybe I should flip how I feel about it.
Yeah, I should note also in that statement, in all fairness, she did talk about the people in her district who are facing the same. One of the issues right now is that you guys are, when you were saying you're asking about next week, so the House is out, and it was supposed to come back next week. Now it's not coming back next week. What has been communicated about how long the House is going to be out? It seems like the idea is that you don't come back before the shutdown ends, which seems difficult to do if you want to actually negotiate some end to the shutdown.
Yeah, that was my question, because I said, is it that we're not going to go back until and unless the Senate passes the House's version? Because what if the Senate actually does come to some sort of an agreement, right, and the Senate passes a version, then we need to come back. So that particular member did not know, but his stance was that he was like, aren't the Dems going to cave? So, right, I don't know. I don't work in the Senate, you know what I mean? But I haven't heard anything about any caving going on. And I think this issue is just too important. And, this is actually a really ripe time to have these conversations, because one of the reasons I'm sure that Rep. Green knows that the premiums are going to double is because this is when people are actually going through the renewal process, right? Yep. This is when most people are signing up for their plans. And so now they are seeing in real time what the estimated cost is going to be.
Let's make one thing clear. This shutdown is bad for Republicans. Overwhelmingly, Americans are blaming Donald Trump and the Republican Party, as they should, for this shutdown. So Democrats, continue to hold the line. Do not bend the knee. Don't get scared. Don't capitulate. Don't Chuck Schumer and a strongly worded letter your way out of this thing. No, hold tough. We are not having a policy dispute right now. Healthcare is not a policy. It's a human right. Stand up for people's ability to afford to live and not die of a treatable illness in the wealthiest nation in the world. That is the fight we need to continue to bring. On what Crockett said about Marjorie Taylor Greene, she's so right. She really is only making this big stink, in my opinion, because she's either running for president, trying to maybe avoid a primary in her district, trying to make a big show. This is about Marjorie Taylor Greene. She said that she realized her kids' premiums were going to go up, and that changed her mind. If that's the only thing you think about as a representative of millions of people, you're not representing anyone. Let's make that damn clear. But Marjorie Taylor Greene is creating a stink that I'm pretty happy with. She's creating problems for Donald Trump, and She leaked the call that they had recently and also the calls they haven't had in this clip right here before we get into how that is leading to the civil war.
You know, there's reporting that President Trump, as you know, recently called at least 2 senior Republicans to ask, and I'm quoting now from these reports, what's going on with Marjorie, end quote. Have you talked to the president about this issue personally? It's obviously so personal for you.
Well, you know, the president has my cell phone number, and he's called me many, many times. So if he wants...
recently? How recent?
I don't get into that kind of details, but he knows how to call me, and he can ask me himself.
More Republicans break party ranks. MTG was right. In the unusual world of Congress during a shutdown, far-right firebrand Marjorie Taylor Greene has emerged as an unlikely ally of Democrats seeking to save millions of Americans from spiraling health care costs, and she's not the only Republican making such an admission. The government shutdown comes as Republicans call for a clean continuing resolution that funds the government as it stands. However, at the end of 2025, the subsidies for the Affordable Care Act, or ACA, will expire. Democrats want a deal to continue the subsidies, but according to Punchbowl News founder Jake Sherman, Republicans do not want to extend those Obamacare premium tax credits at all, period. When speaking to Senate Republicans who remain on Capitol Hill during the shutdown, Ross Story found more strange bedfellows generated by increasing voter support for tax breaks on health care costs. Senator Susan Collins said that the Affordable Care Act is important to a lot of us, not just the Democrats. She agreed that the subsidies should be extended, though she would like to see some reform. She didn't specify what, though. But the sooner we can get an appropriations bill through, the better off we're going to be, she said. There are many discussions going on, and I have been in very close contact with Senator Jeanne Shaheen, Democrat, New Hampshire, who is very constructive and is trying to find a path forward. North Carolina Senator Tom Tillis told Ross Story that he became the second Republican Speaker of the North Carolina State House since the Civil War because he was convinced that former President Barack Obama was going to make a bad health care decision. Now he appears to have evolved. We will be making a bad healthcare decision if we don't help. All we're really trying to do is reduce the waste and abuse, he told Ross Story, noting that it should be a tax cut that nixes high-income wage earners. I do think there should be skin in the game for people that have means. Ultimately, he confessed that Marjorie Taylor Greene is right and noted that only a handful of members want to see the subsidies expire. That isn't what reporters are hearing on the House side, however. So more and more Republicans are waking up to the political cost that will be cutting health care for millions of Americans. Now, I wish they had woken up to actually caring about people who are going to have their premiums double and triple, people who are going to be paying more than any other individuals, countries around the world. It's a little ridiculous that our healthcare system is so shit, yet we pay so much for it because it's not really a healthcare system. It's a corporate sick care system, and yeah, it's been broken for a while, but we don't need Republicans to break it anymore. But that's the argument that they are trying to make, that it needs to be fixed because it doesn't work. But by fixed, they mean broken even more, so that you're further dissatisfied with government and they can try to push you away from the idea that maybe Medicare for all is the way to go, which of course it is. But Donald Trump is in a weak position because of Marjorie Taylor Greene and further Republican pushback. Why do you think he's going after his political enemies? He needs a distraction. And Lawrence O'Donnell called out that distraction right here.
Imagine this prosecutor has never prosecuted a case in her life, trying to convince a trial jury that Attorney General James willfully lied on the application and always knew that she was going to rent out the property. That is simply not a provable state of mind, and the prosecutor cannot call Attorney General James as a witness to ask her what her state of mind was. And so there's a very strong chance that this case, if it makes it to trial, will get a directed verdict from the judge finding that the prosecution was incapable of proving what it claims in writing in the indictment is a fact. Attorney General James' state of mind. So Attorney General James is probably on her way to take her place in history with former FBI Director James Comey at the top of the Trump enemies list and as the people who beat the madman in the White House in court, because that is what is likely to happen here. You can listen to all sorts of lawyers talk about this case, but it comes down to the same elements as the James Comey case. The first motions are going to be to disqualify this new acting U.S. attorney. Those motions will very probably succeed. The other motions will be to identify this as a selective and prejudicial prosecution. Those motions will likely succeed, and that'll be the end of the case. Attorney General James has already beaten Donald Trump in court for business fraud practices in the state of New York. Donald Trump's appealing that case in the state of New York. James Comey and Letitia James have the best defense lawyers you can possibly have in these cases. They're going to win. Donald Trump is going to lose. Don't worry about them. You don't have to worry about them. There is much to summon our outrage about in the madness of the Trump presidency. But the people who Donald Trump has so far dragged into court could not possibly be better equipped or better financed to fight Donald Trump in court and crush him. What Donald Trump is doing to other people in court, what he's doing to immigrants in this country who show up at federal courts for their appointments and then get thrown to the floor by masked men and beaten and dragged away from their families and shipped off to countries that they've never been to, they deserve the full force of your outrage. Those people have no resources. They have no voice. They've done nothing wrong. They've tried to do everything right. They went to that federal court to do everything right, and their lives are already ruined. They cannot wear their deportation as a badge of honor. But the Attorney General of the state of New York can.
This is nothing more than a continuation of the president's desperate weaponization of our justice system. He is forcing federal law enforcement agencies to do his bidding, all because I did my job as the New York State Attorney General. These charges are baseless, and the president's own public statements make clear that his only goal is political retribution at any cost.
This blatant perversion of our justice system, that is Donald Trump's perversion. She's right. She has nothing to fear. That smile is real. She knows she's going to win. She knows Donald Trump's going to lose. And she knows she can wear her place on the Trump enemies list as a badge of honor for the rest of her life.
Donald Trump is going after James Comey, going after Letitia James because he is weak, because he knows his poll numbers are shit, because he knows Republicans are starting to turn on him, and because he knows that we are fighting back and we are keeping Epstein in the news. And we are going to continue to do all those things. And if you want to support us doing that on this show, as always, you can hit that subscribe button, leave a like on this video. If you stuck around to the end, drop a blue heart in the comments. And if you want to watch me debate some MAGA idiots, you can click right there. Keep on fighting. Don't let them silence you. Until next time, I'll see you soon.